Hello and welcome to NJ.com's weekly TV chat with Vicki Hyman. Today we'll be talking about the new fall season and which shows Vicki stayed with and what shows have brought the big TV signal in the sky. Vicki, how are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
I'm okay. Before we get into the nitty-gritty of each show that you really liked, bring us up to speed with the programs that have gotten the axe so far.
Well, it's interesting because usually there are a number of shows who have gotten the axe by this point and yanked off the air, but maybe because there are so many options out there, the networks are giving shows, more room to find their wings. So Manhattan Love Story, A to Z, and Selfie all are essentially canceled. They did not get any more episodes after their 13th, so we could still watch them, but don't get too attached. Those are all, romantic comedies. There was nothing that was particularly memorable about any of them, except for maybe how bad Selfie was in the beginning, although reportedly it got better. I don't really believe it, though. And Bad Judge got canceled, rightfully so. That was awful. And probably the worst show, maybe next to Mysteries of Laura, in my opinion, which, by the way, got picked up for a full season mysteriously, was Utopia. Utopia got canceled, and that was Fox's experiment in reality television, trying to put people in a remote area of California where they will create their new society. And I only watched one episode of it, and it happened to be the episode where there were two gentlemen, I think their names were Red and Fifth Avenue Dave, and they really wanted some ramen. They wanted to be able to, because you could order groceries on this store, on the show. They wanted to order some ramen. They wanted their soups, and the other people wanted to order vegetables like radishes, and Dave and Fifth Avenue and Fifth Avenue Dave and Fifth Avenue Red got very upset. And they wanted their radishes, which turned into pickled radishes, which turned into pickled horseradishes, and they were just yelling about that for like half the episode, it seemed.
So, needless to say, this was a huge bust for the network.
Huge bust. It was supposed to be on for 2 nights, and now it's not on at all.
All right. Well, good riddance to Utopia.
Yes.
Sorry, Fox. Our first show is a Fox show. It's Gotham. Tell everyone why you stayed with it and what's impressed you thus far.
Well, actually, the production values are amazing. It looks great. It's got this really interesting noir look, and it's also sort of anachronistic. So you have they're driving old cars, but they have new technology. It looks great. The cast is uniformly good. Jada Pinkett Smith plays a sort of a minor mob boss called Fish Mooney, who's very ambitious. I love Donald Logue, who plays the eventual Commissioner Gordon. Now he's just Detective Jim Gordon, his partner, and it's really interesting. They didn't really go the procedural route on this, which I appreciate. There are some episodes that are sort of like they're solving the mystery, but there's so much mythology that they're building into the show that you're not, every case actually brings you deeper into the characters, as opposed to just like, this is the case, and they solve it and they move on.
Well, I agree with you. I mean, I think what strikes me most about Gotham is that the art direction is probably second to none, and dare I say, one of the best-looking shows on TV, despite the grit of the show. I mean, to me, it looks like part 70s cop show, part Tarantino, part late 40s noir, part exploitation. It's like a hodgepodge beast that we really kind of haven't seen before on TV, right?
No, it's great. My one concern about it, though, do you feel that they're bringing in a little bit too much mythology a little too soon? Like, Harvey Dent showing up. It's like there aren't that many characters that the average Batman, the average viewer knows about. They're not like the super geeks. So
this is the problem because, they're making a show for the masses, yet you have to appeal to the geeks. I mean, and that said, we could be on comic book or origin story overload. I mean, we've seen it in pop culture for the past, 8 or 9 or 10 years. Everything's going back to basics. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I do want to talk about the theory that you and I have spoken about.
Yes, your the internet's theory.
It's not mine. It was started by a user on Reddit, and it's picked up significant steam. He contends that Oswald Cobblepot on the show Gotham is actually the Joker. Dun, dun, dun. I mean, all right, let's just explain why he thinks this. I mean, first of all, on the show, he's tall and lanky. Tall and lanky. If you Google the Joker, you'll see thousands of shots that look like Gotham actor Robin Lord Taylor. The Penguin was a master thief and not necessarily a killer. He shows absolutely no interest in birds, and his suit is highlighted heavily in elements of purple and green. So, look, I'm throwing that out there, but I don't want to discount the online community. I mean, stranger things have happened. I mean, forums and message boards were on fire all fall about, Boardwalk Empire, and they called the series finale. So I'm not going to say no to this. I mean,
but Anthony, don't you have a piece of evidence?
Yes, I do have a piece of evidence. Look at this. This looks like Robin Lord Taylor to me. Can you see that?
I can see it.
What do you think?
Well, I was actually more convinced when you brought to me another piece of evidence, which I don't believe you have in front of you, showing that there was another character at the supposed death of the Penguin in the first episode that looked very much like Danny DeVito's Penguin. I thought that was very interesting.
Well, let's just say the character was a little more portly and looked like the Penguin. I mean, the Penguin is a stout, portly character. He does not look. He's not tall. He's not lanky. That's just me, and thousands of other comic fans out there. All right, let's move on.
Okay.
The second show on your list is the ABC sitcom Blackish. Again, tell us why you like this and why viewers should give it a shot.
Well, it was pretty much the only sitcom I think I have kept up with, except I'm still sort of watching Marry Me, which I do enjoy. But Blackish it's sort of like Modern Family. It's got that same sort of it's a single camera sitcom. The production values are great. The acting is great. And it's very appealing to everyone, I think, even though there is a lot of sociological African-American issues that they bring out there. I guess what? I'm not black, and I'm really enjoying it too. It's really sharp. It's witty. It's actually, I think, almost in some cases a little bit smarter than Modern Family. They talk about the most recent episode was about how Dre, who's the father played by Anthony Anderson, takes his family back. You'll see in the clip here to the sort of like low rent buffet that his kids who have grown up, enjoying much nicer meals, did not really enjoy, and so he comes to the conclusion that his kids are spoiled, and then he wants them to get a job, and then there's a couple of different subplots they're dealing with where Rainbow, the mother played by Tracy Ellis Ross, starts worrying that her neighbors are going to think that they've hit the skids, and I don't think that's necessarily a black thing. I think that's something that a lot of people who are strivers, who worry about keeping up with the Joneses, do worry about. They want people to think that they're really successful. So I think it's really, really great. The one issue I have where I think it does, this is pale in comparison to Modern Family, is that the kids really aren't that well-rounded. They're not as sharply written. You know exactly where what the point of view is of every single one of the Dunphy kids, for example. And here it's like, the little girl is really smart. The older daughters, she's a typical teenage girl obsessed with fashion. I don't know. They're just not really doing it for me at this point. I think that could be better.
Well, Vicki, I couldn't disagree more. I mean, I know the show's a bona fide hit and it was conceived to be the perfect companion to Modern Family, but I'll tell you why I'm lukewarm on Blackish. To me, it's a show that smacks of being overly developed, reeks of wanting to be Modern Family. It's hitting us over the head, and maybe it would work if it didn't air right after Modern Family. It's just how I feel. I mean, I've given the show the old college try. I've watched a bunch of them. I have the same feeling after every episode. People will call me crazy. I know this. The show does something else that I have a pet peeve about. Just me, but it seems like there's this growing trend in single-camera comedies that take the action out of the present and they shoot these 4-second vignettes of something ludicrous. I mean, you see it on The New Girl. 30 Rock did it constantly. To me, it's a cheap way of getting laughs, and it's something that you rarely ever see Modern Family doing. To me, Modern Family is the standard, and that's just how I would do.
I have to agree to disagree on this one, Anthony.
We can agree to disagree. We have one more show to talk about. It is the hour-long legal drama How to Get Away with Murder, starring Viola Davis. Vicki, Tell us why this show is on your list.
Well, I wouldn't quite call it a guilty pleasure because I think it is a very good show. Viola Davis is everything you've heard is true. She's absolutely amazing. She's like steel. She's vulnerable. She's everything. I'm going to compare this to another show like we did with Modern Family and Blackish. The lead-in is Scandal, which I used to love, and it absolutely was a guilty pleasure. And I stopped watching the end of last season because it just got so incredibly ludicrous by the end. It's set in the White House, and people are killing each other, and the president's son it made my head hurt when I watched it. And there are definitely elements of that in this show where, there are all these, she's handling all these like murder cases that seem to get solved in like 3 minutes. And the way that Viola Davis's minions in the show, these law students that she's brought on sort of as interns, manage to, get the goods on to get their clients off is pretty stupid, but it's just really enjoyable. And for some reason, it doesn't bother me as much because it's not about the White House. It's just a lot more fun. And the central mystery, which is who killed Viola Davis's husband on the show, it's really gripping. It's only 15 episodes, and so there's a lot less of that middle season slump that you see when the shows have to extend out to like 22 episodes. It's tight. It's interesting. The characters are great. It's really, really funny, and I'm really loving it. I don't know what they're going to do for a follow-up. I don't know whether it's going to come back, but it did get it's great.
Did it get a full season order?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, it's only 15 episodes. I think we're more than halfway through at this point.
I mean, I think part of the things that you were saying, that's network television. I mean, these hour-long dramas that have to solve the case in a police procedural format. This is what we've seen since the dawn of the golden age of TV. It's not going anywhere anytime soon. That's why cable dramas lead in probably overt drama, and there's that audience for that. I do want to briefly mention, you also mentioned a few shows that you were half watching.
Well, Marry Me is definitely one of them. Actually, that's the only one that it's on my DVR when I'm home. There's nothing else to do. I'm like, oh yeah, Marry Me. I'll go watch that. So I am liking that one. I hope it gets picked up. I think it's on the bubble right now. That stars Casey Wilson and Ken Marino as a longtime engaged couple who finally, a longtime boyfriend-girlfriend who decide to get engaged and run into all these problems along the way. Really wonderful supporting cast. And then there are a couple of shows that I am watching all the way through, or I did watch all the way through from this fall, and one of them is Outlander, which was the Starz show, which is actually the first half of the season aired, I think 8 episodes, and another 8 episodes are coming back in the spring, which, people say Game of Thrones for chicks, but it is more than that. There's military history. It's even like a medical drama at parts. It's really, really good stuff, and like Game of Thrones, as soon as I watched a few episodes, I started reading the books, and I'm halfway through the second one now. These are thick books. And the second one I'm really enjoying is Showtime's The Affair, which is maybe 5 or 6 episodes in about a couple, two married couples in Montauk for the summer. One is a local couple who lives there. One is a visiting couple, and there's an affair. And there's also, what's really intriguing is that it shows you how the affair happened, but it's interspersed with a detective interviewing both parts of the couple to get to the bottom of some murder, some death. We don't really know what yet. Slow burn. It's really great.
All right. Well, I mean, it looks like we're going to be doing this every Friday, so tune in next week for our next TV chat. That wraps it up for today. Vicki, say goodbye to all your people.
Bye.
All right. So long, everyone.